Okay, so I've gathered all the materials that I need for this, except for perhaps the nails. And now I really need to come up with an idea of where I want to put stuff. Basically how to put things together. Here are the planks. I need 16 of these, and I'm not going to say how the spacing is. The spacing has to be relative, because you're not going to get exact spacing on any measurement unless it's just perfect dimension. But a gate is never going to be a perfect dimension. I've taken the 2x4s and laid them out, and this would be the back of the fence as I'm looking at it. And as you can see, I'm going to have to do a little bit of cutting here to get the right size. But now I'm going to point to the most important tool for this whole job. I'm just going to need a hammer and a saw, but this is going to be the most important tool, the tape measure. Now, as for the design, the most important part of it is understanding exactly where your gate hinges have to be and how tall the boards have to be above this when you build it. It's one of the main reasons you can't use a standard fence piece for this, because you'll see over here that this piece right here has a 2x4. It's much stronger than this fence piece over here, and it's going to be a lot harder to get this to support a lot of force and a lot of weight. And also, it has to be lower. And on the bottom, look here, it has to be a little bit higher. But that's not for the reason that we're thinking. The reason that is important. Now, you could put a bottom hinge on that easily. Put 3 hinges on this very easily. But the problem is that I've got another fence piece over here, and I have to build around that. I won't have that problem on this side, because of course I don't have a fence going out here. I don't want a fence going out here. So I'll have a free run, but I want it to be the same construction, so I'm going to build it the same way that I built this right here. So now I measured this to be about 101 inches across. So one of these is going to be 50 inches and the other one was 51 inches, but I'm not going to measure that. Now notice I have a little overlapping piece here, so that when I close the gate, this is going to close on the outside. This will have the gate latch on it. The other piece will be pinned into the ground right there. So what I'm going to do, as I said, the most important piece of equipment is your tape measure, and I'm measuring at the wrong place. I'm measuring 65 and 1/2 is 121 inches, not 100. 65 and 1/2. I knock 3.5 inches off of that for the width of the board, and I get down to 1, 2, 3. That's 62 inches. So I want it 62 inches wide, and I might want to make it a little bit shorter so that I don't bump these two. One other thing I'm going to do, I'm going to measure at the top to make sure, and that's 65.5, to make sure everything is level and straight. Leveling out a fence post, to get it just exactly right. Again, it's an easy thing to do. You have to do it. And this post, because it's holding a gate, has to be particularly straight up and down. Now, that is also about up around. Alright, so fighting with this piece, but it's very important. 65 and maybe 3/8 here, so I'm a little bit close on the bottom. That's probably not the part that's going to rub, though. The part that's going to rub is going to be over here by the 2x4. Let's go. 65.5. Almost on the money. Probably a little shorter because it's tucked in a bit. So that's our measurement. And then again, your gate hinge, if I were to put it on a stock piece, this last one would go up above the top of the post. And you could bring the post up a little bit, but any time you've got 2 feet down in the ground, if you bring it up, you weaken the post, and that's the last thing you want to do with the gate. Also, because this piece supports a gate, it's not a standard 8-foot. I put a 10-footer down here because it can support a gate, which means I have to dig a really deep hole. I had to dig that 4 feet deep, more than 4 feet, because this is 6 feet. This is, I believe, 8 1/4 inches above here. So the dimension you need is going to be this one right here, which says it's 11 inches above this 2x4. That's the main one right there. So we have the 60, I believe it was 61 inches. Was it 61 or 62? What was this? 65. 1, 2, 3.5. That's 62 inches. I got to be careful. Be very careful. 62, because if I put 61, it's going to be not big enough. So 62 inches wide. Maybe a 1/4 inch under that, just to be safe. This is another one you need. You need to know what this is down here. So this is 11 inches over here. That's what you need. That's how far it is. 11 inches. Up here, we need it around 12. I think it was 12 3/4 inches. Now, how I got those was, of course, by measuring where I needed that hinge to be on the other side. Put the hinge there, and then just measured from here to the center of that, which was 14 1/2 inches. But that's the middle of the 2x4. So I have to go down, which is 3.5 inch wide. So I go down half of 3.5, which is 1.75 inches, or 1 3/4 inches, which is what makes this distance. What is that? 12 3/4. Okay, so don't forget to factor in the halves, right? Half a board, not. Oh, that's not the bottom of the board. Okay, so now we have these dimensions, and we can go on and lay our frame out. We have to make some cuts. The first thing we figure out is the distance between here and here, but you do that with your calculator, not with a tape measure, because you don't have a board as I do, all ready to go. I measure 48, and it should have been 48 1/4 inches, but let's come out to 3/8. But it should be 48 1/4. All right. Okay. So let's start doing some